Hello my dear students. As per VTU syllabus, we are now moving on to module 3. In module 1 and 2, we have seen C program, variables, how to declare variables, operators and control statements, for loop, while loop, if statements, else, etc. etc. In fact, by using these, whatever we have seen in the previous videos, you would be able to write majority of the programs. In fact, for basic operations, say for example, I would like to solve quadratic equation. Take two input ABC, take three inputs ABC and write the equation, solve the equation and find out the roots. For those kind of very primitive programs, what you require is actually what all we have studied in the previous two modules, previous videos. As we go higher and higher in programming, we see these facilities like functions, arrays, then pointers, then union structures, etc. They are all really, you can call in a programming language of programming language. So they are the fundamentals of C program, and this is higher end of C program. So now we are now into a concept of functions, which is most widely used, and you are already using this function invariably, not knowing the word called function. When you write a program, a very simple program, I used to write stdio.h, then main, then open bracket and close bracket, and after that one flower bracket, in between some line of statements, and close the flower bracket. So, what is this main? Main is a default function. I told on that today, main is a default function. It is the entry point where you got to enter into the program. There is a function called main. Not knowing the terminology called function, you already used concept of function through the main. But now let us know formally what exactly this main it is. What is exactly this function it is, and main is one of the kind of functions that you use. In daily life also, we use this concept. Have you seen any day your notebook of so much size? I am buying 200-page notebook, one for maths, one for this subject, another for physics, another for this subject. If I have some 7 subjects, I will have 7 different 200-page notebook. Why I am not keeping a single thick book with me? 200 into you have 8 subjects, 1600 thick book, why I am not keeping? I am not keeping such a thick book because maths is a different subject that is to be taught by a different teacher, physics taught by a different teacher, what the teacher is giving is something different, and what the teacher is giving in maths is something different. So therefore they are to be noted down separately. Exams are different. They are there in one of the semesters. That's only association is there. They are in the one semester. That's it. But beyond that, they are different. In a very similar way, when you write program, if the program is too big, logic itself is big. You got to execute so many statements in C. What you do is actually, you divide the logic itself into sublogics. And each of the sublogics are treated separately. Like, instead of having 1600-page notebook, I am having 200-page notebook each, totally 8. Like this I am managing. In a very similar way, the logic of any program is divided into sublogics, and each of the sublogics are treated separately. They are called functions in C program. Functions are very useful. Why they are so useful? Because I am treating them separately. I am treating them separately. So that operations you carry out, they are treated separately. Logically, they can be tested separately. You can even run this program, small program, separately, and you can do the error correction, error detection, error correction, etc. and all you can just do. Later, you can really consider that itself. What you can do is actually there are 4 or 5 friends amongst yourselves. So you can just do this part of the program. Another person can do this part of the program. Another person can do another part of the program. Later they can be combined. So this is how it is there actually. So that is why when you divide that big task into small tasks, each of the small tasks can be carried out by a separate logic, separate set of instructions. So therefore, your total program looks more easy to trace, more easy to operate, and it is called as a modular. So C permits you to have lot of functions, right? So that's why you will be using a concept of dividing the problem into smaller units, and each of these units are called as functions. But you have to ensure that they are connected. Somehow you have to do the connection. How do you do the connection? See, you are already familiar with the main function. In the main function, somewhere you are supposed to do some sort of logical operations, and you do that operations there and you come back. And again, when you are doing this execution, somewhere here you feel that actually some other operation to be carried out. That operation I am not doing it here, I am doing it outside, so that I will be bringing that particular into this particular program. Like this you will be keep on doing this. Okay, so that's how the function goes. So but for the function there will be no reserved words. You will be giving any name for the variable, any name for the function, and that name itself will be used as a connecting thing. Say for example, you have here main. Main is a default function that you will be writing. A typical program looks like this actually. I have this include stdio.h, main as a function. Then you have some set of instructions well within this, right? This is a function. There is a default function. Another function that you are defining. This is a mandatory function you need to have. You will be typing main followed by open brackets. In a very similar way, you can also do a part of this. Okay. If I am calling a function called 1 is a defined function by you. You can use this actually. Now, how you have written this main function with flower brackets and some set of statements, you need to have 1 as a function. Here 1.1 open bracket, close bracket is there. In between you have some set of statements. Then you have your close bracket, open bracket, something like this. Right? Now, there are many things to be noted down when you are writing the function. What is that? Every function shall have a return function. What is that return? A function, when you are calling a function, that function will return something for you. It may return, it may not return. Your thinking is to execute and come back, then no need of returning. Some cases, you will be calling that function this is, I am using the word called calling. You are now calling this function. Now here you have series of execution. So there will be some lines of code. Line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. When line number 5 is there, this is one statement called calling a function. You call this function. It means you are calling the function and you are going. It is as good as, now I am doing some set of work one by one. 10 o'clock I started the work. 10:15, I need to go there. Somebody has knocked the door. I go there. I stop the current work. And I go there. Then after this work is completed, I come back here and do like this. Even in regular classes also you would have seen, you would have experienced this. Some teacher will be taking class, continuously you will be speaking or you will be writing on the board. In between there is a door knock. What he does? He stops the current work. Current work means he may be teaching, he may be writing on the board. He stops the current work, go to the work at the door. Somebody has knocked the door. He goes there and complete that work. He may be speaking to that fellow, or he may be collecting some notes, or whatever it is. Maybe some notice. Some attender would have come and given the notice. So you just collect it. I mean, you stop the current work, give the attention there. There also some series of instructions are there. Once you complete that work, just close the door and you come back here. Here in a very similar way, you will be having these functions. In this, I am calling a function called 1. 1, you are going here. So, here you are not executing this. You are executing line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. Immediately after this line of code, this is not the line of code you are executing this line. It means you means inside this main function, you have called 1 as a function, and this function control will go here and you will be executing this. Once you reach this flower bracket of the calling function, you are coming back here and executing this. This is L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, L6, L7, L8. So L1 is executed, L2 is executed, L3, L4. After L5, it is not L6. You are executing here OL1, OL2, OL3, OL4, OL5, OL6 like this. You will be executing these lines, then you are coming back here, then you are executing L6. It is not necessarily that actually this function should not call another function. It can call another function also. So it may be calling here 2. This function called 1 may call another function called 2. So therefore the treatment remains same like this. Here you have set of lines of code. Now observe this carefully. Main.c, main function, then you are executing L1, L2, L3, L4. L5 says call a function called 1. So you are going here. So in this function, you are executing one by one. 1, 2, 3. The third line of code says call a function called 2. So therefore you are calling this function. So you will be executing these lines of code. Once you complete this flower bracket, it means the lines of code completed for 2, then the control comes back here. Then OL4 is executed, OL5, OL6. So that is the end of this function. So after this has been called, so therefore it is coming here and L6 is executed. This is how actually the functions are called, and it is being executed on priority. Once you call a function, so that function is executed at a priority. and in between you have another function being called, so that is given a priority there, it keeps on going like this actually. So therefore function, basically whenever you have some set of instruction to be executed, you can keep calling them repeatedly whenever you want. This is a separate line of code. You can do the debugging, you can do the checking, you can do the error corrections, modularity. I have already told about all those things in the beginning. So this is how the function should use. Now, question is, what is the syntax for this? As I told you, there is no reserved word along with the function. You have to have one name for it actually. You can give whatever function you have, right? You can give any, how you are giving name for variables. In a very similar way, you can give names for your function. Usually we will be giving the names which are easily understandable for us actually, right? Say for example, I am calling a function to solve the quadratic equation. I am calling a quad, QUAD, like this actually. I am trying to find the factorial of a number by using a function. Then you are calling a FACT, fact of this, like this. So you can give any name of your choice. So therefore it will be easy for you to understand this instead of giving one, do, like this actually. I have written only for you to understand, right? Okay. So this is one thing. Naming is important. Second, you will be having brackets followed by semicolon. You are calling, and this statement is completed. This open bracket and close bracket will be there, right? Next, there are certain rules to be understood very clearly. You got to understand. When I am calling main as a function, you know that here I have declared some variables in the beginning itself actually. All variables are to be declared in the beginning, that you know in the C program. Here, when you declare variables, these variables are not valid here. They are different. You can have different variables. To make it simple, here in the main function, in our usual thing, I used to call int age, int serial number, something like this I have written. Now, when you call a function called 1, well, within this main, you are coming here. You may be thinking that actually all the variables that I have declared here in the main are valid here. No, they are not valid. As main has got some variables declared well within these brackets, it is valid only well within this bracket. Now, age and serial number, they are the variables that I have declared in this function called main. Like main, 1 is also a function. So, age and serial number are invalid here. You cannot use them. If you would like to use the same values, then there is an alternative. So first thing you have to understand, let us see that later. It's the same thing to be able to use that, we will see that later. Right now you have to understand the variables that I have declared here are not valid here. You can declare any other set of variables of your choice here. So, these variables are valid only within this bracket, these two brackets. When this is calling 2, what all variables you have declared here? Integer, a character, C. Like this you have written. A and C are the two variables you have declared in this function called 1. They are valid only well within these two braces. When you go out of this brace, they are invalid. They don't have any significance at all. So therefore, either here in this function, you cannot use a variable like A or C or something like this. Then how do they do the connection? While doing the connection, you have a scope in C program. What is that? You can assign this function execution to a variable inside this function. Okay, how does this go? I can use something like this. Age equals what is returned here is assigned to age. It means you can make a scope of changing the value of this age by using this function called 1. It means this function should return some values and that value should be stored at age. So you should make facility there. You should make the facility. Whenever you are making an assignment here, like age equals to 1 function, it means some value should come from this to this. How to make that value to come from there? Here there is a function called return. This return function is used to return the value to the calling function. Which is the calling function? Here main is the calling function. This function is calling 1. So 1 is executing some lines of code and returns something. Returns something. What is being returned? That is assigned to age. Okay. Now let us see a small set of program. Just to modify this same program. See now, if I don't use this int age, int serial number, age equals to 1 function. I am calling a function now. The function, it goes there. Printf percentage d age. If I don't use this, if I don't do this, age is not assigned with any value. Now age is having a value returned from this 1. What is returned? You got to write a program. Okay, here I will be writing integer. Now I am declaring a variable called age underscore 1. Just for you to understand, age a variable in a function called 1. So that's why I have used a name like int age 1. You can use any variable, but this will understand you better, right? Printf, please enter the age. Please enter the age. Scanf percentage d. Now I am reading the value, whatever being typed in the keyboard, is now stored in age underscore 1. This is the variable of type integer in this function. Now you have typed, somebody has typed the age as 26. Where it is stored? It is stored in age 1, age underscore 1. In this variable it is stored. Now you got to return this value. So therefore, inside this you have to say age underscore 1. You are telling the computer this age underscore 1, which is nothing but the age somebody has just typed, is stored, that is returned to this function. Now here one function is executed here, it returns a value, that value is stored here, age. Now printf percentage d age. So when you print this age is now assigned with what is being returned from that particular function. What is being returned from this particular function? What is being typed, and that has been scanned, and that is stored. So therefore that value is returned. What is returned is assigned to age. So therefore when you run this small program, you will be getting age, what is being typed, so that age will be displayed here. Age is displayed here, scanning is done in this program. Alright. Now there is some small change you got to understand. One, what type of value this function returns, so that needs to be mentioned here. Then this completes. I am telling you, I am writing a function called 1, which is returning an integer. So int 1, you have to write like this. What sort of value it is now returning? It is now returning an integer, age 1, which is of type integer. So therefore that is being returned. So that is why it is returning an integer. You have to write like this. Then this completes. Now you can ask me, sir, while writing the program so far, for main what sort of this is returning? So you got to understand what are the possibilities. Possibilities are, here integer is returned, that is why integer. If it is returning a character, then it will be returning a character. So this will be called as a character type of function. What sort of function it is? This, depending on the what it is returning, what it is sending back to the calling function. So that type of declaration you got to make. If it is returning a float, then you have to call float 1 like this. So what it is returning, that is. If it is not returning anything, it is simply execution, not returning anything. It is simply execution. Then you can write it as a void. Instead of this int, I can write this as a void. If you are not writing anything like void, that is also acceptable. You can simply leave it. Even if you simply leave it like a main function, so far we have not written anything. By chance if I write what it returns nothing. To indicate that actually it returns nothing, you can give void. Even if you don't write void also, it is acceptable. Right? Nothing means it is void. You can write or you can just skip like this. So void main acceptable, without this also acceptable. It is as good as indicating it is a void. If you don't write anything, then it is considered as a void. But you can write except exclusively, it returns nothing. Right? Now fundamentally there may be some questions that arises to you. One, the variable which are declared, are they available here? I have made it very clear, it is not available there. Only facility you are making you are using one variable, they are called as a local variables. The variables which are there, they are now called as a local variables. Variables which are there well within the function domain, they are called as a local variables. And can a function return more than one variable? It cannot return more than one variable. It can return only one value. It could be integer, it could be a float, it could be character. So what sort of value it is returning? So that is the type of function. I am calling int 1, it means it returns an integer. If I am calling character 1, then it returns a character. Then float 1, it returns a float. So the what sort of value it returns to the main function or to the calling function, then it is called that type of function it is. So therefore it is returning single value. Then if I would like to return more than one value, two values, three values, then what I should do? Local variable, it cannot be possible. You need to have a global variables. You got to understand one interesting concept along with the function, they are called as a global variables. One, local variables. Second one called as a global variables. What are these local variables and global variables? Local variables are the variables which are declared within this function. Even main is a function. Please understand. Main is a function. So what are the variables which are declared inside this main? They are local only to the main function. What are the variables you have declared well within this? They are local only to this function. Like that, if you have hundreds of functions, what all variables you have declared, those variables are valid only in that function. When you go out of the function, they are invalid. Now, there may be a possibility that actually you declare the variable outside the function. Then they become global variables. Say for example, most of the students belongs to some specific department, right? You have head of the department, you have a class teacher like Murli. Murli is a teacher in computer science department. All my students call me, sir, you belongs to computer science department. Similarly, if a teacher is there, he belongs to mechanical department, right? I belongs to computer science only. I don't go beyond that. My area of working only well within this computer science only. I don't go beyond that. But look at the PT teacher. PT teacher, sports teacher, he doesn't belong to one specific department of the college. He belongs to everybody. Sports teacher belongs to everybody. NSS teacher belongs to everybody. Principal belongs to everybody. It means their domain, their value is not only in one specific department. Their value is valid everywhere, everywhere. So, like that, you have a global variable and local variables. The variables which are declared well within the function called as a local variables. Please understand this. So far we have declared, we have written some functions, programs. In all those, they are called as a local variables. They are local only to that particular function. What are these global variables? Global variables are the variables which are there outside the function also. Where to declare? Obviously you have to declare outside the function. Wherever you declare outside the function, they all become global variables. But not necessarily that they should be only in the beginning. But if you write it in the beginning, it will be easy for you to memorize. That's it. But anything which are declared outside the boundary of any functions, they are all called as global variables. Alright. Now, I'll just write do the small modification here. Integer now I have declared one variable called test. Test is a variable which is declared as a type integer, but it is not well within this function, either this function or this function or this function, any of the functions. It means test becomes global variable like your PT master. Is valid, E can be used here also, E can be used here also, E can be used here also. Your PT master can be used here, anywhere. Whereas age is a local variable, should be used only within this function. Similarly, age underscore 1 is a local variable, you should use only well within this. If you use anywhere else, it shows error. All local variables are to be used here. Whereas now you have global variables which are having validity throughout the program, not necessarily well within any function. They are called as a global variables. In this example, test is a global variable. You can use here, but when you declare global variable, you should also feel another thing. You should also see one carefulness. What is that? There are chances that the variable that you have used here, global variable, here the changes have been made, here the changes have been made. You should trace that. Otherwise, what will happen? You think that actually the value you have changed in this function, not knowing what is happening in this program. So that is why we should be little bit careful, but don't worry, global variables are always useful. Now why I have explained all those things? The reason is this actually. Whenever a function wants to return more than one variable to the calling function, it is not permitted. Because it can return only one value. In that case, you declare global variables. Global variables, any changes you have made, they are available all the time. Okay, now let us take this case. I have declared one global variable called test. Okay. There is one variable called test, which is a global variable. So I am going to the main function as it is, int age, int serial number. Age, I am now assigning the value of age equals to what is returned from this particular function. It may return anything, whatever being returned, so that value will be assigned to age. What is returned? To know that you have to go there, you have to execute it. Execute, and what is returned, that value is assigned to age. So it is done like this, right? Okay. Now when you come here, int 1, int age, I have declared one local variable called age1. Printf, enter the age. Scan the age. Printf, please enter the test marks. Somebody types his test marks is 20 out of 25. Scanf %d ampersand test. You can worry, sir, where is this test? Test is a global variable. You can use anywhere. You need not have to declare well within this function. So its scope is their entire program. So you can use it. You can use it. You read the test marks. You read the test marks. Now, if you have typed marks as 20 and if your age is 23, let us say, and 23, now you are telling return age 1. It means return the age 1 value. What is this? 23. So 23 is returned and assigned to this. So therefore, the age becomes 23 here. What is returned? That is assigned to age. Next, printf %age. You are printing the age. Age is a local variable here. What is the value of age? Age equal to 23. How did you get it? It is nothing but the return value from this function. So therefore you get it. Alright. Next, printf your test marks is so and so. Test marks, where did you get it actually? You got it from this function. But how do you use this? Test is a global variable. You can use anywhere. Alteration is done here and printing is done here. Right? Reading is done here, printing is done here. Input is done here, output is done here. So you can use it anywhere you like. Global variables you can use anywhere you like. Local variables you got to use only in the small function itself. Alright. Now, we have seen global variables, local variables and functions. We will see with some more examples on the board. Then we will write up some, we will execute some programs and we will see that in the next video. Thank you.